What is up, my ninjas? This is your boy Majin AN, here to continue the AFC edition of FANTage for your fantasy football research and pleasure. Now, we started off with my home division, the AFC North, which was considered one of the stronger divisions of the AFC. So now we're going to the weakest division in the AFC South. So let's get us popping. We're going to start with the lead team in the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans. They're ahead by a lot in that division. Well, not by a lot, but better than other options. Let's start with quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. After two strong seasons in the Tennessee Titans, Tannehill is kind of coming back down to earth and starting to regress. And he turned from startable to like backup QB if you need to like have another QB on standby. And if you have better options, start him over Tannehill. Tannehill's not like super startable anymore. And he's alright. Decent fantasy value, that's all I can say. As for the wide receivers, yeah, that is a complete shit show right now. It's when healthy, Julio Jones and AJ Brown are supposed to have like the highest fantasy value. However, their health has been fluctuating, and also Tannehill's targets have been fluctuating, giving some players on that team possible value looks and everything. Like Chester Rogers. Chester Rogers has been kind of looked at well. But he's not super fancy relevant as the lead receivers are getting healthier. Julio is usually startable when he's healthy. As is AJ Brown. They're not must starts, but they are startable. If you have better options, you can start them. But yeah, they are very startable. As for Anthony Fierskier, he has pretty decent tight end value for fantasy value for a tight end, so he can be usable. If you don't have much tight end options, or if your main tight end is not playing that game or has like a horrible matchup, yeah, Fierskier's good. As for the running back situation, the Titans have a beautiful running back fantasy value, especially since one of the undisputed GOATs of the running back position and possibly in the NFL for running backs is their lead runner, Derrick King Henry. King is very fitting, as in Derrick Henry has a dominant amount of fantasy points. In fact, a few years ago, let's see, it was definitely 2019, I think. 2019, 2018. He had one of the highest fantasy points ever scored for a running back or fantasy player in general for a while. Like, scored nearly 50 points. It was amazing. He still shows those performances, and it's still like definitely the must start running back of fantasy. So if you have Derrick Henry in your fantasy team, it's common sense to start him. There's no other option. Even if he has one bad game, you have to start him. That's it. As for the other running back, Jeremy McNichols, he actually has pretty good flex value since he's receiving running back. So he gets some good yardage. Very good for PPR leagues. Very good. So, yeah, that's the running back situation. As for the defense, stay the hell away from it. That defense is not good. It's awful. Mediocre. Dookie. So, if you are looking, they're somewhat matchup dependent, but not really. So if you have better fantasy football defense options in free agency that you can stream, stay away from the Titans defense. That is it for the Titans. Now it's time for the Texans. I'm going to make this quick because, Texans have little to no fantasy value right now. In the QB situation, Tyrod Taylor was startable. He showed flashes of being startable in this season. However, he's injured and he's out for a good amount of time. Not sure how long, but for a good amount of time. And his backup, rookie Davis Mills, has shown flashes of brilliance and being overwhelmed. Like he had a 4-touchdown game, 4 interception game, 89 yards, no touchdowns against the Bills defense, which we'll get into once we go to the AFC East side. However, he had a really good game against the Bill Belichick Patriots defense, which is a really good defense. So over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he's actually he's on a stash for later, or don't pick him up until you observe enough and get the results you need type of QB. So steer clear of him for now until he shows like major results. As for the wide receiver situation, oh hell nah. To the nah, hell to the nah. Very disappointing wide receiver situation. With Brandon Cook being the only wide receiver that has any significant fantasy value. Like Chris Conley has some decent fantasy value, but it all depends on the QB. And Brandon Cooks is their best. Chris Conley's not bad. Keenan Cole is our. Wait, does Keenan Cole play for the Texans? Yeah, I'll just forget about that. But however, the last game kind of showed practice squad player now promoted to regular squad, Chris Moore, getting over 100 yards and a touchdown. This kind of like throws a wrench in the fantasy equation because there's always one of those players that come out of nowhere, unicorns, that we just look at, pick up, and see what we can do with them. And see if they can repeat that miracle performance. Like we had that with Travis Fulgham last season. Disappointed everyone in the end, but he might have that. Chris Moore might have that Travis Fulgham moment. And then when the major players come, he's going to be brought back to earth, maybe. And then there's rookie Nico Collins, who's like on watch for possible wide receiver success with the Texans. But other than that, stay away from that. The tight end situation in fantasy is not even promising. Like Eichen and Brown, stay away from that. As for the running back situation, that is even a clusterfuck worse than the wide receiver situation. There is no fantasy value there. They have a whole bunch of starter level running backs, but they're all in the same team. You don't know the order. David Johnson might have the most fantasy value of that not so promising group because he has receiving usage, but other than that, stay away from Mark Ingram, Philip Lindsay, and Rex Burkhead and David Johnson. Stay away from those players. As for the defense, while it has gotten better than last season, it's still not trustworthy. Shoot, it might even be a matchup dependent defense, but it's not like super great. And that's it for the Texans. Now I thought that was going to be easy. Now for the Colts. Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz actually is starting to look like he has fantasy value again. After the game he played on Monday night against the Ravens, he's entering like must start territory again. But he's like played pretty well throughout the past few games. Even if it's not pretty, he's gotten decent fantasy points, like at least around 17 to 18 fantasy points every time. So that's something. He's borderline must start territory. We gotta see how he does against the Texans. As for the wide receiver situation, semi-stagnant, but not. Michael Pittman Jr. is starting to look like a must start. He's entering must start territory. He's not must start yet, but he's entering there. He's entering that territory. As for Zach Pascal and Paris Campbell's usage needs to increase more. So yeah, that's that. And not much fantasy value with him right now. And Zach Pascal has occasional good flex fantasy value. Not bad. And let's not forget the star of that receiving corps, T.Y. Hilton. T.Y. Hilton also has big playability. So when he's healthy and when he's on the field, you expect him to deliver on a big play, especially if he's in sync with his QB and get you good fantasy points. So he's like almost must start too. Depends on the chemistry he has with Wentz. As for the running game, pretty fun. Fantasy-wise, has a lot of value and can create a lot of value. Because their centerpiece, Jonathan Taylor, is in must-start territory. He's not a must-starter again, but he is in must-start. He has performed well last season to earn that starter position, and people having must-start faith in him. Let's see. Then Naheem Himes, very good for PPR leagues, very good receiving back. So, yeah, he's doing good, not bad. Has very good fantasy value. Now let's see. And then there's Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack shows flashes of the fantasy value that he once had, and the running back ability that he once had. However, you gotta wait a while for that because he requested a trade from the Colts since it seems like they're clearly moving on without him with the rise of Jonathan Taylor and the versatility of Naheem Himes. So they're working on that. And remember, if a player requests to get traded or is going to get traded, look out for them and see how they perform in that team. We'll get to that more on that with Sony Michel in the NFC edition of FANTage. So remember that. As for the defense, startable. Very startable. Not as dealing with a bunch of injuries right now, which matchup dependent, very strong, but healthy, extremely stronger, and quite startable, unless you're going against a super, super good offense. But yeah, startable. That's the Colts. And finally, the Jags. One of the only few winless teams in the league, and last place in the AFC South. However, it's filled with some surprising fantasy value. Trevor Lawrence, the first pick over the NFL, the 2020 or 2021 first pick overall. The rookie wonderkind, the boy that's supposed to define the future. He's had an interesting few games, which leads to an interesting few fantasy value fluctuations. He does decent, his first game, he had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Still gave him decent points. But he's been growing throughout each game, which means his fantasy value is increasing. He's starting to enter startable territory. So, yeah, he's not bad. As for the wide receivers, there's some fantasy value in the wide receivers. Marvin Jones is occasional startable and flex. DJ Shark should be startable when healthy and in sync with Trevor Lawrence. So yeah, he should be startable if healthy, but he's going to be out for a while. Laviska Shenault, startable as a flex or maybe even a wide receiver if you're desperate. But very startable. His flex value is great. His versatility and usage is impressive. It's not bad. As for the tight ends. And the tight ends, as in, they've had so many tight ends like Hollister and Mathis. I can't pronounce. And just recently acquired Dan Arnold. After shortly spending his time in the Panthers quickly traded him for C.J. Henderson. And now he landed in the Jaguars. And he's quickly became one of Trevor Lawrence's favorite targets. So he's almost in the startable range as a tight end, as a journeyman player too. So his fantasy value is not bad right now. It's pretty usable. So if you have Dan Arnold, you can start him. Not bad. Very good to work with. Or you can use him if you have better options. You can save him as a great backup. Running back wise, Jacksonville has options. Has really good fantasy value there with James Robinson. James Robinson was a must start in his rookie season. Now he's startable. He's closely entering must start territory again, so his usage has been really relied upon for the Jacksonville offense. So yeah, if you have James Robinson, he's very startable. Almost must start. Now, some of their other running back options like Carlos Hyde, stay away from that for a while. Yeah. And the defense. Oh, the defense. Stay away from that. One of the worst defenses in the league. Absolutely don't take that Jacksonville defense. Hell no. No way. Awful. But that is it for the AFC South. We will continue with the AFC East. And until then, thank you for watching.